everything I've ever done in my life has brought me to this moment in time, talking to you this very minute and having technical difficulties. Yes, everything in all of our lives, everything we've ever done brings us to this point. It shows us who we are. All of our experiences are so much a part of the human beings that we become in later life. And I tell you, when I'm an old lady in an old age home and I look back and think about all the things that I've done, I will be very entertained because I can't believe half the things that I did, but I did them. And I did them knowing that somehow they would work out, that I would survive, I'd be fine. And I think that's a very important part of my personality because I did do stupid things that could have worked out very badly.
Hello, welcome back. I'm Andreea Parc.
And I'm Alexa Dumitru.
And this is a Live Again podcast where attorneys and other professionals meet to discuss real life challenges and how our decisions shaped our journeys. Today, we have the great pleasure of having with us a theatrical producer, actress, dancer, choreographer, author, among other things, Carol Ostrow. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Such a pleasure to have you.
Oh, it's an absolute joy to be here with you. I just hope my screen isn't freezing. It looks like it is, but I'm going to keep going on like a professional, like nothing is wrong.
Exactly, because the show must go on, right?
Show must go on. Yes. I've had a lot of experience with that
Oh,
one.
yes, I'm sure. And I meant to say that you are also, among other things, because you're wearing a lot of hats, the first woman president of the Actors Temple.
Oh, I'm very proud of that one in 108 years. So it's quite a responsibility, and I always feel that male or female leadership is so important to have heart, to have soul, to understand. And it doesn't make any difference whether it's a male or a female. But since I'm the first female, I feel like I have to be better than anybody else. And I don't know if I am, but I'm certainly giving it that effort.
Yes, yes.
But thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. It's not an easy job, but it's one that I'm very, very proud of.
Yes, I'm sure. And I would like to start by asking you, how did you get to be in this wonderful profession of the arts? Because we know that Alexa also is an artist, and I would like to ask you and for you to tell us how you got here.
Well, it's all because of my mother. My mother was a businesswoman. She worked with my father, which was very unusual in those days. My father owned restaurants, but she had a dream, and her dream was always to be an actress and a performer. And so she pushed me. She was a stage mother, even though she worked. She was a stage mother, and she pushed me into things that I didn't really want, but I did it to please her. And I knew she was proud of me. And I thought maybe she wouldn't love me if I didn't do what she wanted me to do. But she loved me regardless, always like you and your beautiful daughter. It's unconditional love, no matter what. But I took advantage of it at times. But she wanted to be a dancer and an actress and pushed me into beauty contests and to entertaining. And it taught me how to be in front of an audience, how to conduct myself. And I loved it since the time I was 2 years old.
Wow.
She taught me to be that dancer, but I had to earn a living, and that's the way I did it. And earned a living that way. But I always was able to find a job. If I couldn't do one thing, I did something else. If If I didn't do that, I would go and do another thing, but it was always within the context of entertaining and show business. So I have to thank my mother for giving me that background, that getting on the stage, loving that feeling of sharing myself with an audience and getting that love and acceptance was food for me. It was as good as food. I could live on that. And that's how it all started because my mother pushed me. And then at 17, I'd had enough of that. and but show business was all I knew. That was my training. And so I used it. I used every single brain cell that I could to get where I thought I wanted to be to earn a living. And I did. So I ran away. And I know you
I
like that
love that
story that
story.
I've told before. I love it too. And I look back and I think, what a stupid thing to do. But it it got me where I wanted to go. And I learned, even though it was a dumb thing to do, to run away from home, no child should do that. But I had the courage somehow to know, because of my mother, that no matter what I did, no matter where I went, if I got into trouble, I'd get out of it. No matter where I was in the world, I would find my way. I mean, I was 8 years old when I was taking acting lessons. We lived in Brooklyn, and my mother couldn't come with me because she was busy with my father in the restaurant. I had to take the bus or the train to get where I was going at 8 years old. You
Yeah.
can't do that today. But I learned. And so I thought, no matter what, I'll find my way. And if I got lost, I'd ask somebody, well, where is this or where is that? So it was ingrained in me, and I felt that I had the courage to run away from home, to get away from my
So
beautiful
tell us,
mother.
so
She
tell
was
us
too much.
where
She was too.
where you ran away.
So I graduated from high school at 16. I'd skipped a grade, and I worked at 16 and a half at Lord Jeff's Sweaters to earn a little money that summer. And while I was earning some money, I was reading all of the papers of show business papers like Backstage, and read about all the auditions that were happening in New York. And since I was in New York City, the city, that I could take time off at lunch and go for auditions, which I did. And I auditioned for a motion picture producer whose name was J.G. Tiger. And he looked at me and he said, honey, I'm going to make a star out of you. And I believed him. He was about 38 years old and I was 16 and a half. So we made a movie and I was in it and I was thrilled. And then he said to me, you know, I'm a magician and I'm going to go all over the United States doing shows and I want you to be my assistant. And we're going to do a magic show. And I'm going to be traveling all over the United States. And at that time, I'd won a wonderful prize that was given by the college of my choice, which was on Long Island. And I won a scholarship to Hofstra University, a full drama scholarship. And my mother said, you're going to take that scholarship and you're going to get married to a doctor, a dentist. And to myself, you know, Mommy, I've had enough of you. And I went with Jay Tiger on the road.
That's quite a story. But do you believe that it was part of who you are right now?
Oh, absolutely everything I've ever done in my life has brought me to this moment in time, talking to you this very minute and having technical difficulties. Yes, everything in all of our lives, everything we've ever done brings us to this point. It shows us who we are. All of our experiences are so much a part of the human beings that we become in later life. And I tell you, when I'm an old lady in an old age home and I look back and think about all the things that I've done, I will be very entertained because I can't believe half the things that I did, but I did them. And I did them knowing that somehow they would work out, that I would survive, I'd be fine. And I think that's a very important part of my personality because I did do stupid things that could have worked out very badly. But because I had this upbringing of my mother trusting me and telling me you're a smart girl, because she did that, I took a chance and I led my own life away from her. And it has stood me in good stead. And I've made mistakes, but I'm not sorry for any of them. And I don't consider the divorces, for instance, my first husband, my second husband, I don't consider them mistakes. They were just pathways to who I am, as we just said, who I am right now. And I appreciate having those experiences very much.
That is definitely quite a mindset.
Yes. And sometimes I think, well, we're just born with it. But I think that perhaps that's so. I think we're born being cheerful or depressed, but we can always change that. I mean, this is psychology. We can always change. Sorry, my business phone, I can't shut it off. We can always change who we are if we choose to. But I'm a happy person and I'm happy with myself. Yes, I could be better, and I probably should look into that now. Who I am. I like, sorry, I'll take it off the hook. I like who I am. I'm, I don't always do things that I like, but I like who I am. And I think that's very important for getting on with life and getting out of just problems and solving problems. I feel that finding my way and learning to have confidence in myself has really helped a great deal in who I am right now. Don't you think that's true of you as well?
Yes, definitely. And when you were mentioning about mistakes, I don't believe we make mistakes. I think it's part of our journey. And that's the reason why we discuss in this podcast about the decisions that we're making in life, because those decisions shape who we are. And we learn. As long as we learn from the mistakes, they're not mistakes, just stepping stones. Yes.
Yes. Now I feel I've made mistakes in my life, but I'm not sorry for any one of them because they have propelled me into the person I am right now. And I'm not in avoidance of making mistakes or even failing. I think that's part of my education also. I have learned from every so-called quote unquote failure, like shows that have gotten bad reviews, that I've lost all of my money and people were out of work as a result of those reviews. But I learned, well, if I want to make money from that, what is commercial? What's my target audience? I have to appeal to those people who will pay for a ticket and come and enjoy themselves. And I've learned that
Yeah.
that's part of who I am. I want people to come into the theater as a producer to learn something, maybe about themselves, maybe about life, maybe about something, but it's entertainment. And I want them to have a good time, to have an experience. And that has
Yeah.
also been as a result of my own life. What do I want to see? What do I love? And if I love it, I feel the audience will love it. Not always true, but that's all I have to go on, my intuition and my
Yeah.
experience. And it's stood me in good stead.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think just by nature of, as you were saying with the shows, just by nature of the arts, you need to have that, right? Because not everybody's going to love, exactly as you were talking about with the reviews, not everybody's going to love what you do. But you need to, and you're going to hear no's so many more times than you're going to hear yeses.
Yes.
And that's fine. And you need to learn, have the tough skin to be able to say, okay, what's next? And I'm learning that slowly as well, that not all of them are winners. And sometimes the ones that I really love are not so highly viewed, and sometimes the ones that I didn't think were my best work are the ones that people love. So It's really, I'm learning to grow my eye, formate my eye.
Well, what you're saying is so true. And you can't be afraid. Well, even if you're afraid, do it anyway. I remember that I was married again for the third time, which was very successful. I adored and loved my husband, who adored and respected me. And I was thinking, well, what am I going to do with my new beautiful life? I'm an actor, a dancer, a choreographer. What am I going to do to make it fun in the position that I'm in now? And I decided I was going to go back into the theater. And my husband, I can't say he allowed it, he just understood it. And he understood that I needed to express myself. And he would not take that away from me because he knew I wouldn't stay with him if he tried that, and nor would I ever do that to him. So, so I thought, okay, I'm going to audition and I'm going to get myself into an acting part. I'm here in New York. What would be better? Well, I couldn't get myself sold or hired for anything for whatever reason. So I thought, all right, I'm going to HB Studios at the time, taking acting lessons to hone my skills, as all actors do. And oh, my little kitty cat is over here wanting attention. So I'm taking lessons and I meet this very lovely playwright. She's got a play about a woman in her 30s who has adventures. And I thought, this is perfect. I'm going to buy the rights to this play and I'm going to put myself in it. So, how am I going to raise money? So I thought, okay, I'm going to cast the show with my fellow actors in the class at HB, and the teacher of the class, the instructor, was going to be the director. And I found a theater, so I cast it with my fellow thespians. And I found the theater. I made a little party afterwards for all the guests. I invited everybody, sent out the invitations, and it turned out to be the worst show I'd ever seen in my life. It was terrible. It wasn't good at all. However, the playwright said it is good, in her opinion. She wrote it. And I should meet one of the very famous producers by the name of Arthur Cantor, who was in the audience that day, that night. So I called him up. I said, Arthur Cantor, my name is Carol Ostrow. And he said, was that your play that I saw last night? It was terrible. Don't put a nickel in it, but I'll teach you how to be a producer. And I thought, a producer. That's what I was trying to do, be a producer. A producer puts all the pieces together. And I was doing that and I loved it. And I thought, you know what? I like being a producer better than an actor because an actor is always looking at themselves. I was looking, am I young enough, tall enough, thin enough, right for the part, wrong for the part? Oh, it was always about me, 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 me. And that is what acting is. It's about yourself and being the person the playwright wishes you to be. But when you're the producer, you're not concerned about yourself. You're concerned about everyone, about putting those pieces together. I mean, I'm not the playwright, so I have the playwright go over all of the material. Put on a play, I don't do the lighting. I have to hire the lighting person. I don't do the costumes. I have to hire the costumer and get the lawyer and do all of those things which are so creative and are very much a part of what you need to do. And I found that more creative and more satisfying than acting. So you don't know. So you get yourself involved and you find that you're good at something else that you didn't have any idea that you would be good at. And I've been doing that
Yeah.
now for 25 years, putting all the pieces together, finding places, finding shows that I love, that I feel there'll be an audience for and they'll pay for it. And I do that now at the Actors Temple as fundraisers. And I did it for the Anti-Defamation League on Broadway and off Broadway. And I found a joyful part of my life that I'd never dreamed of before. But circumstances led me there. And I knew enough to say, okay, I'll take a chance, even if I fail. And some of my shows have gotten terrible reviews. But it never stopped me. I thought, okay, I'll find a more commercial show that the critics will like, maybe. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, but it didn't stop me from wanting to go forward. And I found it joyful, and I'm working with the most beautiful, the cleverest, the most creative people that God ever created in show business.
Yeah.
And other
Yeah.
producers,
Yeah.
people who believe in what they do and just want to bring joy and culture and beauty into the world. And that's my purpose. That's what I want to do till the day I die. And I don't know when that's going to be, but I know I've got 2 other shows cooking.
Definitely. Keep moving forward.
Yes,
And it's interesting how you've been on stage your whole life.
yes.
And it took that extra push to realize that that's not really your place. And that's not where you feel the best.
At the time, I felt my best at that time. And then I moved onward. Became from being a showgirl and learning how to dance to, I became a choreographer because that's how I could get another job. And I didn't know if I could be a choreographer, but I knew how to how to do the counting, 5, 6, 7, 8, and off we go. And I listened to the music. At first, it wasn't good, but then it got better. And that's the thing. And then I moved on to something else because there wasn't a choreographic job available. So I became a model. The thing is to somehow, even if you don't have the confidence, you got to make a living. You got to do things in the world. You got to live. Try something you haven't tried before. Learn about it. There were so many times when I was a model and I was, as I told you, an anorexic bulimic to stay thin. I didn't have a body. I was a voluptuous showgirl, but I decided I was going to be a high fashion model by hell or high water and starved myself into it, which was not healthy, not smart, but I did it. And then I thought, gee, I'm not going to do this anymore. I could die. So I bought the agency I worked for. And I didn't have the money, but I said, I'll pay you back by working, getting jobs for other models. And I choreographed shows. I didn't like the shows that I saw at Saks Fifth Avenue. So I went to the gal who was the head of the models and I said, I have the ability to put on a good fashion show. I mean, I really didn't know if I could, but it had to be better than what I saw. And I said, I'm a choreographer. If you let me work with the girls, I know they're not dancers, but I'll make them move and they look happy and they'll sell the clothes. But you have to be careful because we were human hangers. That's why the women are so thin. So the clothes look good, not so much the model. But I thought, why not be happy up there and sell clothing by being joyful and using beautiful music? It's show business. And that's all I knew. So she took a chance and she said, all right. And I said, you don't have to pay me for the first show. I'll be a model and it pay me for that, but I'll choreograph it and I'll work with girls. And I began making a living that way, choreographing the shows, not knowing I could or if it would be successful. But I just decided I'm going to take a chance and do it because it's what I knew. And the same thing with producing. I needed a new challenge. I wasn't worried about failing. Not all the shows were good. The first show I told you was terrible. But I learned and I took a chance. And it has stood me in good stead for the entire life. And if someone said, can you do this? Sounded interesting. I'd say yes. And then I'd say, well, how am I going to do this one? Oh my, Google now, you can find out. Then I couldn't. So I tried and I failed, but I did it anyway and got better. And maybe that is the secret. Be afraid, go for it, learn as much as you can, and reap some joy from it. It comes from you. And I've done it my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel it's the confidence that anything you do is gonna turn out one way or another good.
It's not to be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
I'm not in love with failing. And I'm not afraid of success. It's a combination of not wanting to fail and certainly being a success, not just for me or my ego, but for the people that I involve in the circumstances. It's a collaborative effort. I can't do this by myself. I have to know who I can depend on. And when I ask a costumer to make a costume, I have to know that that person can do it. And they work with me. We realize each other's dreams. It's a collaborative effort. You don't do it alone. And that's the beauty of it. If I say my show,
Yeah.
it's not really my show, it's our show,
Yeah.
our success or our failure, if it is a failure. But then we learn and use whatever we've learned for the next time. And there should always be a next time. Sometimes I get so tired and I just want to rest. And so maybe I'll take a few days and go to my favorite place in the world, which is Canyon Ranch in Lenox, Massachusetts, and work out and be in charge of my body. And then I say, well, all right, I did that. What's next? And so I
Yeah.
come back and I'm refreshed and I'm not tired of what I do. I needed to get away. I needed a break and then go back and take a chance. And I love that. That's life to me. Taking a chance, not getting bored. There's no reason to be bored in this world. There's so much to do. Don't you agree?
To do. Yeah. 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 Definitely. And I should mention that I met you through our wonderful Three Tomatoes publishing house, that you are also an author, and I have here your second book.
Thank you for that.
And I would love to tell us a little bit about how you started to write.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Here we go again with not knowing how to say, oh, I can't do that. It was during the pandemic, and I kept thinking, what am I going to do with my life? Everything is closed down. I have a business where I sell tickets, Broadway tickets to groups, and I started that by selling tickets for my own shows in the theaters that I'd rented for the shows. And everything was shut down, so I had no income from that and nothing from producing. And the synagogue that I run and ran at the time was closed. And I started making videos with friends in the theater to earn a little money for the synagogue so we could keep people on salary. And that didn't keep me busy enough. And I was so frustrated. What am I going to do? And then I thought, well, I'm going to start writing. And my dear friend Jane Goldman wrote a book. And I thought, why don't I write a book? I can certainly start with my memoir. And then I thought, well, I love making up little poems. And so I thought, well, I'll write about my frustrations or the guilt that I have for sitting in front of the screen all the time and watching Netflix during this time. I'm not being creative. And so I started writing little poems about feeling guilt. Actually, I could read you one of them now. It's really funny if you'd like to hear it from that.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
It's called Guilt is a Waste of Time. And believe me, that's how I lead my life. I don't feel guilty. So in this day of the corona disease, I consume comfort food, if you please. What saves my life, certainly not diet-ish, is a bagel, tomato, and fresh tuna fish. Oozing cheese on buttered bread does more for me than going to bed. This reaction sure does play with my head. I hate the thought of what calories will do, but now who cares? I'm not feeling blue. Martha's cookies, called kitchen sink, put me in a mood you'd call pretty pink. Raisins and almonds and brown sugar now mean so much more to me than the average of Dow. My hind quarters are about to grow in size, but wearing pajamas, I do realize that 2020 in my hindsight will be a time of terrible fright. But oh my Lord, I put up a fight. Never forget that weight can be lost, but mental health is worth the cost. Bring on that cake with buttercream frost. Does this entice? Well, will you share a slice? And so that was my worry that I'm going to get fat. And I thought, gee, I'm just going to write poetry. But I did it. I mean, anybody can rhyme if you sit down, rhyme time. But I wanted to do it as though I was choreographing a show. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Da 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 da. And that's how I do my poems in 8 counts of 8 in a phrase. And so it's la da 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 da. And that's how I do my poetry. It's not Shakespeare, put it that way, but it's what I love. And I love it to be entertaining and uplifting the way I like the shows that I produce to be entertaining. So that's how I started writing poetry. And by golly, thanks to our friend and mine, Cheryl Benton, I got 2 books, wrote 2 books, and I'm on my 3rd one. And the 3rd one is a little more serious but uplifting. That's who I am. Serious, but I don't want to stay there, and I don't want to be depressed. I like being healthy in mind, body, and soul. So I hope my poetry that I'm writing for others, but for myself, will feel uplifted. And that's how I started.
That's wonderful. And the second one, so the first one was about the pandemic, and the second one is poetry in motion with much emotion.
Yeah. And I'll read you one little poem from that one if we have time. Is that all right? Yes?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, this one is so true to me, and I think to most people. Too much thinking. Lying in bed with nothing to intrude is not exactly euphoric solitude. It's the bump, ba bump, ba bump, ba bump. I think of things that happened in the past that perhaps needed more nurturing in order to last. I'm not reliving or rethinking another ending, as that is a waste of time to be spending on what I have done instead of pretending that I could have prevented whatever happened. I could ask, suppose I did this instead of that. This would lead to meaningless chat. That would keep me up, getting me fat. As for sure, I would crave a large piece of chocolate. Life happens. You make decisions. No time now for any revisions. Relax. If you need help, a best friend will listen. You can call me, of course, anytime. Would rather solve your problem than mine. Just do it after 9, please. And that's how I feel. You got a problem? Talk about it. And a
Yeah,
girlfriend is, you
yeah.
don't have to spend $350 an hour with a shrink. You can talk to your best friend who will understand and hopefully love you anyway.
Definitely unconditional love, right?
Conditional
That's what friends are for.
love.
That's wonderful. And now that we're approaching the end, you know that I have a question that I ask every guest, and the question is, one is one activity in your life that makes you feel more alive.
Going to the opera, the ballet, or live theater makes me feel so grateful to be alive, to have the privilege of seeing live entertainment. I love television, I love Netflix and so on, and it's wonderful. There is nothing more beautiful, more satisfying than sitting in a darkened theater and watch a story being told from the beginning, the middle, and the end, with music, with dancing. Opera, although I love theater, but opera is my favorite. It has drama, it has the music, the acting, the story from the beginning, the middle, to the end, the talent. Even dancing, sometimes they have animals, they don't allow that anymore. But that's when I feel most alive, in live theater.
That's true. Opera is for us as well.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And
And we love the Met.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But being able to produce live theater also makes me feel that I was born for a reason and I have a mission and a purpose. And that's all
Yeah.
mine that I've created with the help of everybody I've ever known, every minute of my life. And I'm grateful. And I say thank you. And I say thank you to the two of you for letting me speak like this. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, it was such a wonderful conversation with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and read us your poems and share your wisdom about life and decisions. And we can wait to see your next shows and read your next book and your creations in the future.
And yours too. I'll be looking forward to what you two are doing next. Thank you. It's been a privilege to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our listeners, thank you very much for following us. For more guests and conversation, please follow us. Thank you. We'll see you next week.